hope you are well and enjoyed this cool change that's come through today. We have the wonderful Kirsten here with us. I'll just introduce myself first. For those who don't know me, I'm Caroline. I'm the founder of Mother Nurture Yoga and the host of the Pregnancy Village Australia, the group that you're in now. I'm also a mum of 3 beautiful little girls who are currently being wrangled into bed by my lovely husband, so hopefully you don't hear too much screaming. But what we're going to talk about tonight is the first of our monthly series of webinars that we're going to be hosting in the Pregnancy Village, and we're inviting different experts in to talk about various topics that are useful to you during your pregnancy. So if you have any other topics in mind, then please do let us know. We'll see what we can do to organise something. But tonight's topic is all about acupuncture and how that can benefit you during your pregnancy, what it is, what you use it for, all the research that's behind it. It's something that I've used in all 3 of my pregnancies. I found it really useful for just getting ready for labour and making labour that little bit easier. So without too much further ado, I'm going to hand over to the lovely Kirsten, who is acupuncturist extraordinaire and Chinese herbalist. So Kirsten's going to talk to us. Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you. Thanks for that lovely introduction. So hi, I'm Kirsten, and I'll be talking to you tonight about acupuncture pre-birth, particularly looking at the closer we get to our due dates. So I wanted to start with a little bit on the research behind pre-birth acupuncture. So acupuncture pre-birth has been used for thousands of years in China, but in terms of research from the Western sense, it started happening as early as 1974, which looked at acupuncture from 37 weeks gestation and concluded that it did shorten the mean time of labour, which was fantastic. 24 years later, in 1998, they researched a bit more into the use of acupuncture, this time from 36 weeks, and again found that it had a positive effect on labour time, particularly reducing the length of the first stage of labour, which is fantastic. In 2004, there was a bit more of an extensive research conducted into pre-birth acupuncture, which looked at 4 primary parameters, and that was gestation at the onset of labour, the incidence of medical induction, the use of analgesia, and also the type of delivery. So all of these things had very positive outcomes and effects. So overall, they found that within the 169 women that received acupuncture compared to the general population, there was a 35% reduction in the number of inductions and a 43% for those women who it was their first pregnancy. There was also a 31% reduction in the use of epidurals, 32% reduction in in emergency cesareans, and also a 9% increase in normal vaginal deliveries. So in conclusion, it was a very positive study and showed that pre-birth acupuncture appeared to have a number of very positive effects on labour and birth, and that more studies are needed into it with more rigorous scientific research techniques, so our randomised controlled double-blind trials, which I'm sure will come out in the future and just verify how amazing acupuncture is during pregnancy and labour. Building from that, I wanted to talk a little bit about pain relief during labour, because that's the other thing that a lot of women are interested in. And acupuncture can be used for a more analgesic effect, both in the lead up to delivery and in the delivery room. So research from Norway looked at 210 women, which compared acupuncture to sham acupuncture, which is fake acupuncture. And in that particular research and study, they concluded that the women receiving the true acupuncture had a reduction in pain. They requested pharmacological analgesics less, and they rated their pain on the visual analog scale as being much less to those in the group that were receiving the fake acupuncture. They also had a reduction in their mean labour time as well, which is fantastic. So there is research out there that supports the use of acupuncture pre-birth and during labour, which is really good, and there's only going to be more trials and studies coming out on that in the future as it grows in popularity. I know I see a lot of women, so we'll just see more and more. So what I wanted to sort of talk about today is just a little bit about acupuncture, and then focus on some things that you can use, yourself and your partner can use, leading up to birth and also during birth as well, because you know, whilst acupuncture is fantastic leading up to it, I don't come into the delivery room with my ladies, so they're on their own from there, and it's up to them and their partner to get them through that, and there's some amazing things that you can do using acupressure. So the main question that I get asked is acupuncture safe for use during pregnancy? And the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that it definitely is safe. They did actually do a bit of research into this and investigate whether or not acupuncture was safe for use during pregnancy. I think this was done only in 2014, and it concluded that there was only a 1.3% incidence of adverse reactions to acupuncture, and those adverse reactions were not anything to do with the fact that the women were pregnant. They were the same as they would have been for anyone in the general population, and those adverse reactions being bruising at the site of the needle, slight bleeding, a little bit of pain, feeling tired afterwards. Nothing at all that's going to harm the mother or the baby. So as we heard, it can only shorten labour time, reduce pain, all those wonderful things. So it's definitely safe to use during your pregnancy. In saying that, there are particular acupuncture points that we don't use during certain stages of pregnancy because of the effects that they have on the body and their influence on the uterus, on the cervix, having a descending action in the body. So it's always important to receive your acupuncture from someone who is qualified and knows exactly what they're doing, because you don't want to be needling the induction points per se early on in the pregnancy. So acupuncture can be used throughout all stages of pregnancy. We're going to focus mainly towards the end, but to just run briefly over what we do as a whole. In the first trimester, it's mainly to do with the massive changes that are going on in the body. Nausea is the big one that you see during first trimester, really low energy levels, insomnia, reflux, all that fun stuff. So first trimester is very much focused on those things, rebalancing the woman's energy, getting them feeling healthy and well again. Second trimester, I always say, is very cruisy for my women generally, not always. So nausea is usually resolving. Pain hasn't quite got there yet because baby's still relatively small. So this is a time where you're glowing and you're looking wonderful. I don't see people very frequently during their second trimester unless there's something going on, pubic symphysis disorder or something like that. Coming to the third trimester is where a lot of that research that I've talked about before is based on, and also where we start to see people more frequently again. And this stage is focused on preparing the body for birth and labour, and also addressing any problems there might be with positioning of the baby. So from the 33 to 35 week of gestation is when you have the best chance of turning a baby that's breech. And this is something that I've seen a lot of fairly recently in the clinic, and that is the most ideal time to be able to turn the baby around the right way to help avoid a cesarean. There's enough room in there, there's enough fluid, baby's not big enough yet, you can flip around more easily. That doesn't mean that it can't happen further along. It depends on the woman, depends on the baby, how much fluid there is, but it's much easier to do 33 to 35 weeks to help avoid that cesarean. So leading up to 40 weeks, there are particular points that we start to use that help prepare the body, open the channels, ripen the cervix, help avoid inductions. I want to talk through some of those points with you in the context of using them as acupressure points. So this is something that I get my ladies to do from about the 38-week mark. It depends on the specific case, and it's points that their partners, their husbands, their mums, whatever, can help them with as well. So anyone that's listening now, we can figure out how we can email you a handout that has those points and how to use them and how to find them.
Your address in the comments, email address,
Perfect.
and we'll send that out.
Perfect. So the first set of points that I want to talk through are the ones that we use to help prepare the body for birth, let the baby descend further, but can also be used during labour if things aren't progressing quick enough. So this is something that midwives who are trained in acupuncture or acupressure will do as well, or if you have a doula, but that doesn't mean that you or your partner can't do it. So the first point is a very famous acupuncture point. You may have seen it before. It's called large intestine 4 or colon 4, and it's located between the thumb and the forefinger in this area here, and it's often quite sore to push on. So that point is used in combination with one that's found on the inside of the leg, of the lower leg, and it's located by finding the tip of the ankle bone and using your fingers as measurements. If you place this part on the tip of the bone, yes, if we for the flexible yoga teachers. So if we go like this here, using her hand would be better because it's in proportion to her body. Flexible. The point is on the bone, or just off the bone, and is right there. So there's often a little depression there, and it'll feel quite sore to push on, particularly for women. That point's called spleen 6. The naming of acupuncture points is all to do with the meridian theory and channel theory and how we view the body in terms of movements of qi and blood, but that's a massive topic for another day. So large intestine 4 is used in combination with spleen 6 to help bring on contractions, and also when labour isn't progressing to kind of speed things along. So the technique that I get my women to use, and often what I'll do is put little press tack needles in these sites, which helps them find the points, so you don't have to get your hands out and measure your leg, which is not too hard. Yeah, during your contraction. You can mark it on with a pen. I've seen people do that as well. So the little press tack needles, it's a tiny little needle that sits on a piece of surgical tape into the point, and it just provides a bit of stronger stimulation when you are pushing on it. So the best method is just to apply firm, even pressure onto the acupuncture point for about 30 seconds, and then what we do is we use the point on the opposite limb, so crossing the body in that technique. You can push on that one yourself, or if it's uncomfortable for you, you can get your partner to push the one down your ankle, depending on how flexible you are at the end of your pregnancy. If you're doing yoga, you should be. And then an hour, 2 hours later, going with the opposite hand to the opposite foot, and then just crossing like that. If you are in labour and you're looking for things to progress, push away at whatever you want, at whatever time. Don't worry about the crossing method. That's more just in the lead up to the date. The last point on there, which for those watching, and when we send that around you'll see it, is it's called bladder 32. And again, another strange concept because it doesn't have much to do with your bladder, but it's located on the sacrum. And so the sacrum being that bony structure at the end of your spine. So the best way to apply pressure to this point is to get help from your partner and have the woman sit backwards on a chair. And the best method is just to apply firm, even downward pressure onto the sacrum, so in down firm strokes, and that helps encourage the baby to sort of move further down, push further down in the pelvis as well. That one too can be used for pain relief, which is what we're about to talk about next. But those are the 3 points that I get people to start using in the lead up to their birth, with the little press tacks in them as well. That sort of makes the effect stronger. You don't need them though. It is something that you can do on your own. It should feel slightly uncomfortable when you're pushing on the points, but nothing that's extremely painful. You shouldn't be bruised from it. So let your partner know if they're hurting you or if you're hurting yourself. So the next lot of points that I want to talk to you about are those that can be used for pain relief during labour and during the birthing process. And there are 3 different ones that I like to give to people because they can be used in all various positions and however the woman is giving birth. The first one is that same one that we talked about in the sacrum, so that again can be used for pain relief during labour. The second one that I get people to use is located between the tip of the shoulder and the base of the neck, just on that high point there, which is often sore on a lot of people. That point there can be used for pain relief. It can also be used to help the baby descend as well. The best way or the method of applying acupressure to this point, it isn't like a massage. We shouldn't be rubbing or moving around on this point. It is a firm, downward, even pressure. Moving around tends to just aggravate the woman and agitate her. So elbows work fantastically for this. You can even use something like a wooden spoon handle in there. This again can be used if labour is not progressing as well. There are stories from midwives who have used this one in particular when we're sort of stuck between stages. The woman's having a lot of trouble getting to that point where she says she doesn't want to do this, and applying pressure to this point can help kind of move everything along and facilitate the baby moving further down.
In my second labour, I was just having a lie down and my doula gave me a massage and she got her elbow in there. I stood up from the massage, water spoke. Off you went.
Yep, descending action in the body. So that one is a fantastic one to use, and I will get people to use that as well if they are overdue. So using the large intestine 4, spleen 6, the one on the back, and also whilst you're sitting backwards on that chair and the partner is pushing on the sacrum, also getting the elbows into the traps as well. Because often by that stage you're overdue, there's a lot of pressure around inductions, you're carrying a bit of stress up in your shoulders, so it feels really good too. The last one that can be used for pain relief during labour is located on the bottom of the foot. So this one's great if the woman's on all fours, then the sole of the foot is actually up. Can be used if they're sort of lying back as well. It's seen really clearly in the picture, but basically if we were to imagine this is the foot and the second and the big toe and the little toe, it's sort of right in that depression that you feel under the ball of the foot, basically.
Not convinced I want to show my
basically, it's just there, and it's called kidney muscle. And so again, just firm pressure into that point by the support person, by the doula, by the partner, is a fantastic one and can help with pain during labour. Also, again, has a descending function, so it can help things progress as well, which is very important in reducing that labour time. So they're sort of the collection of 5 points that I use and get my ladies to use during the later stages of their pregnancy to help with avoiding inductions and to have as many tools as they can going into birth. I think, you know, whatever you have at your disposal is amazing. I always encourage people to, you know, do their prenatal yoga, Pilates, aqua, whatever it is that resonates most with them. Calm birth, she births, hypnobirthing, just however many tools you need, take them into that room and, you know, whatever works and whatever comes to you during that time is the right thing to do. And this is just another fantastic tool that you can have and use. So that sort of covers what the main things I wanted to talk about, sort of giving practical tools and little things that you can use. Acupuncture is fantastic leading up to birth, but there are acupressure which just applies the same principles, but you can do yourself as well that you can use. So that's sort of...
So you talked about using, you know, using acupuncture between 33 and 35 weeks to turn of each baby. If you sort of just wanted to use it generally in preparation for labour, what stage would you start? Would you recommend starting?
I'd say people all throughout, so from not being able to fall pregnant to having a wonderful baby at the end, which is very satisfying. But generally I start seeing people again from sort of 32, 33 weeks for more that general preparation, and then increasing the frequency. So I might see someone at 31 weeks, see them in a fortnight's time at 33. If everything's fine, positioning's perfect, see them at 35 weeks, and then maybe starting weekly treatments again to sort of encourage progression, moving further down, trying to avoid inductions, cesareans, all those things. So that's what most of the research is based around, that sort of 36-week mark for acupuncture in pregnancy. So I do see the people as well who are 41 weeks and 3 days. We do see a lot of those help me cases. I'm being induced in 2 days' time, help me please. So that is, it can definitely be effective. But the benefits of acupuncture come from addressing the imbalances in a woman's body, and there are a number of different reasons from a Chinese medicine perspective of why someone is so overdue, why they haven't gone into labour yet. And if you are coming at that late stage, yes, there are things that we can do that help stimulate contractions, but it's not going to address the underlying issues that were there before, and sometimes it's not enough to bring on labour before you're induced. So it's much better to try and address that prior to the panic moment. But in saying that, it's all about education and getting the word out there about acupuncture. Some of those women who I've seen at sometimes 42 weeks, they've never heard of acupuncture during pregnancy before, and they say, if I'd known, I would have been in here early, and that's not their fault at all. So we do what we can, give them their acupressure homework, stick the little needles in, give them little needles to take home so that when those little band-aids fall out, they can replace them themselves to try and bring things on. So yes, definitely can help bring them on, and I have had success with that. But it is, much more successful if you're able to address that underlying issue there.
That makes sense.
But that was a very good question.
Let's just talk about the needles themselves.
Yes.
I meant to ask you to bring one.
I should probably do that.
Because a lot of people are interested in, well, what does a needle look like? Oh my goodness, you're going to put a needle in there.
So acupuncture needles are a lot thinner than scary blood tests and injection needles. I hate them. I'm the biggest wuss, which is really embarrassing when I have to tell them what I do for a living. Here we go. So the acupuncture needles that we use are tiny in comparison to a blood test or injection needle. They're really small, so you're probably not even going to be able to see it properly because it's so tiny. But that is an acupuncture needle. It's extremely fine and extremely thin. In terms of what it feels like, it's definitely not painful. You feel a bit of a prick as it first goes through the skin, and then a dull or an achy sensation, which is actually a good thing. It's called dirty, which basically means it's working, but not sore at all.
You can actually feel like the energy radiating from
it's
the
amazing.
needle, and when
it's
you come back
really
and you
good.
do your little twist in them, you're like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. So it's definitely not painful. I get kids coming and getting acupuncture, and if they can do it, we can do it.
So you get to lie down for half an hour.
Oh, that's the best part. I find actually my pregnant ladies are the toughest out of everyone. They're the toughest patients. Nothing phases them. It's the muscly men that are actually the biggest wusses on the table. But no, it definitely doesn't hurt. They're really, really small. For people who are very concerned about needles, there are even smaller ones that I generally use just on the face, but you can use them on other areas of the body, and I have used on people who are more needle phobic. But if you're looking for later stages in pregnancy, particularly our 41-week plus people, generally I like to use the longer needles because it does provide stronger stimulation, particularly when you're using points around the sacrum. So you want to be able to get down and stimulate the nerves that are coming out there and communicating with the uterus. And if you're using the small needles, yes, it will impact it to a degree, but not quite the same as if we were using the longer ones. But again, they're not painful, so it's just more the thought of it.
So we've just got 5 minutes left. Does anybody that's watching have any questions that they want to ask Kirsten? You can type them in the comments box if you do.
Technology has come so far.
Amazing. I'm impressed with technology.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. I'm trying to think of the general questions that I usually get.
Maybe just tell everyone where you're based.
Find you. So I practice in both Hornsby and in Mona Vale in conjunction with Health Space Clinics. So 2 very convenient locations. I love travelling between the 2 because it gives me variety in my week, and I get to see different demographics, different women. It's fantastic. I love it. Part of the reason I chose what I do is just the scope that acupuncture has and the variety of people that I'm able to treat and help in a day. So whilst this has been all about pregnancy and pre-birth acupuncture, we treat a lot of pain, digestive issues, sleeping, anxiety, skin stuff. Like it's just so many different things, and that's very satisfying and adds a lot of variety to my day, which is fantastic. But pregnancy is wonderful because of the miracle that you get in the end, which is just amazing, particularly when I'm seeing someone all the way from conception to when they have their baby. It's quite amazing. And to be able to play a very small role in reducing labour time and pain is fantastic. So when people tell me that it helped, that's really good, and there's hope for me when I have my first baby. I will hopefully have a shorter labour time and reduce pain. So
Kirsten's located in Hornsby. I think most of our people that are watching today will be more interested in the Hornsby location, and it's really handy. I used to just pop in. There's a car park around the back. It's near the Westfield. So if you do want to see Kirsten, I have actually in the Hornsby class, I still have some vouchers and leaflets for Kirsten, so you can ask me. I can bring them to any of the other classes if anybody's interested, or if you want to pop your email address in the comments below. Kirsten's part of this group, so she can answer any questions or send you any information after this webinar. So we might wrap it up there, and just to let you know that our next topic is on next month. We've got Amelia Parkinson from Wise Hypnobirthing. She's going to talk to us about bonding with your bump. So I'm looking forward to that session. That's on the 7th of March in this same space, back in the group. yeah, so that's all. So I look forward to seeing you all in class soon. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Thank you.